It's the year 2021, and we live in the United States of America, or should I say, the divided states of America. We are currently living in the most polarized time, not only in my lifetime, but quite possibly the history of our nation, rivaling the days of Prohibition or even the Civil War. By definition, polarization is the division into two sharply contrasting groups or sets of opinions or beliefs. And the key word is division. And I'm not talking about math class right now. I'm talking about a society. I'm talking about our country. Because right now, America as we know it is divided. It's either you're this or you're that. You're a Republican or you're a Democrat. You get a vaccine or you're an anti-vaxxer. You support the police or you want to defund the police. You're red or you're blue. You're a capitalist, a socialist, you're Coke or Pepsi. There is no in-between. It's as contrasting as black and white. But you see, humanity is complex. Neuroscientists and sociologists have uncovered that humans are not so simple. The intricacies of the human brain are not black and white, but they're somewhere in the middle. They're somewhere in the gray. Actually, the human eye can see over 500 tones and accents of the color gray, meaning there's a whole lot of gray area, a whole lot of room to breathe. And I think that's something that we all kind of need right now, is permission to take a breath. And I know that may seem easy for me to stand here on this stage and say that, but this talk is for me first. You all just get to listen in on it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating that we all just get along, because that is naive and that is ignorant. But what I am proposing is that the way forward is not at polar ends of the spectrum, but it's somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the gray. As an educator, I have seen this behavior, I've seen this mindset, this polarization trickle itself all the way down to our classrooms and to our playgrounds. Kids are choosing friends based on who their parents voted for. Kids are walking around on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing or to be associated with the wrong group. These are third graders, fourth graders. This is not for the sake of feeling good. This is for the sake of our future, for the sake of our democracy. Because democracy depends on discussion. It depends on dialogue. Without those, it's lost. It's divided. It's dead. So may I suggest 3 big ideas that are backed by science and experience, that if we were to simply do some of them, life would be a whole lot better. Number 1, let's stop labeling. Labeling works really good in the grocery store or in your spice rack, but it does not work with people. And haven't we become masters at categorizing others? They're rich. They're overachieving. They're gifted. They're below grade level. They're an English learner. They're illegal. They're progressive. They're racist. They're Asian. They're black. They're white. Sometimes we don't see people as individuals, but we see them by how we or the society has labeled them. But this is how our brains function. Your brain is constantly looking for patterns, looking for order, looking for the predictable, because it makes life more manageable this way. If I'm different than you, or if I disagree with you, then let me just paint the picture that you are inexperienced, or you're uneducated, or maybe you're immoral, or you're just flat out wrong. And then I can just get on with my day without having to deal with you and our differences. But if we're not careful or intentional, our brains will convince us that we are contrasting, that we are black and white. And that's not fair. And half the time it's not even true. Instead, let's see people as unique, full of potential, complex. It was the great philosopher and someone who probably smelled really good, Coco Chanel, who once said, "The most courageous act is to think for oneself." Let's think for ourselves. Let's see others as unique individuals, because that is the gray. Secondly, let's invite and value differing perspectives. There's an old Buddhist parable about a group of blind men who are arguing over this strange object that they found in the middle of the road. One of them is describing it as this large, leathery wall. Another one is describing this hose that's falling from the sky. Another one of them is on the ground feeling these pillars. And they're arguing, they're standing in the middle of the road arguing over what this object is when a woman walks up. And she says, "Guys, leave that poor elephant alone." Sometimes we need differing perspectives to see the whole picture. I'm sure you've heard of the old adage that before you judge a man, you need to walk a mile in their shoes. And while that sounds beautiful and cute, it's impossible. That's not going to happen. Because their shoes don't fit your feet. And they may not even be wearing shoes. And we're so busy wearing our own shoes, we can't take ours off. We have to realize that our experiences and that our journey is very different than others. And it takes courage and a little bit of curiosity to invite different kinds of people into our lives. But right now, that idea is dangerous, isn't it? Because it's safe. It's comfortable to stay on my side of the spectrum. The gray area is dangerous because of the unknown, because it's vulnerable, and because you might be the only one there with your point of view. But we will never have good conversations. We will never enter the gray or have a thriving democracy if we don't make it safe for everyone to speak, even if they irritate us. There's a passage in the Christian Bible, in the book of James, that says, "Be quick to listen, be slow to speak, slow to get angry." And isn't it interesting that in this nation, a nation supposedly founded on these principles, we often do the exact opposite. We are quick to speak, we are quick to get angry, and we're slow to listen. Let's listen more and speak less. Let's invite different perspectives and opinions to your table, because that is the gray. And lastly, let's boldly move forward with respect. We are going to disagree. That's okay. That's normal. And it's actually healthy in a thriving environment. But we have to move forward. We can't stay here any longer. And that starts with respect. The person on the other side of the spectrum is a human. They're not evil. That's somebody's brother, somebody's mom, somebody's daughter, somebody's grandma. That's somebody's friend. And they want what's best for everybody, just like you do, even if their strategies are a little different. Respect is recognizing their experience and assuming they have good intentions, even if we disagree. It was Gandhi, a man of peace, who once said that honest disagreement is often a good sign of progress. And the truth is, sometimes we will have to agree to disagree and find the gray area in the middle where we can move forward. But that's what makes America, America. The freedom of ideas, the blending of thoughts, the mixing of our differences to hopefully create a better tomorrow, a brighter future for our kids and for future generations. Instead of pushing our ideology, let's push for cooperation. Let's push for collaboration. Let's push to move forward. Now, I just laid out 3 really big ideas on pretty much how to be a human being. None of them are new. None of them are earth-shattering. But I also know that none of them are going to happen with the flip of a switch. Because the gray area is broad, it's vague, and you really can't control what the other side does. But what if we're overcomplicating this whole thing? The thought of one more conversation, the thought of one more thing to do, it's overwhelming. We've done it, we've tried that, and it's not working. It's the year 2021, and here we are. But sometimes adults take simple things and we try to do too much. Because what if this gray area is simply about being a good human, smiling, saying thank you, being respectful? And maybe it's too much to ask the world to do all this, but what if it just takes a couple of us, me and you? It only takes one speck of black to make white gray. And it only takes one speck of white to make black gray. And what if it just took you and me to be kind? There's nothing like standing in the middle of a kindergarten recess, watching kids, regardless of the color of their skin, or their parents' ideology, or their social class, or their religion, simply playing together in freedom, without fear. That is a breath of fresh air, and that is the gray. What if this whole concept of the gray is relearning how to play nicely again? Have we forgotten? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once warned us that a society in monologue rather than dialogue ends up destroying itself. Because democracy depends on dialogue, and dialogue happens in the gray. Democracy depends on gray. Gray is the way forward. Gray is not color blind. Gray is color brave, because it takes bravery to see others as unique. It takes bravery to invite different people into your life. It takes bravery to move forward with respect. It takes bravery to go from the crashing black and white to the blending and the mixing of the gray. And sometimes it takes a little bit of bravery to be the first one to play nice. But are we not the land of the free, the home of the brave? This is the way. Gray is the way. And I wonder, once we enter the gray, are we going to find that we're not as contrasting as we once believed? So, my friends, my fellow Americans, the path to a United States is paved not by choosing Team Black or Team White, not by polarization, but by recognizing the value and the beauty of the gray. May we not see each other as rivals or as enemies, but as brothers and sisters, as fellow Americans. May we stop pointing fingers and start working together, or at least playing nicely. And may we be color brave, seeing and thinking in the gray, not in the black or in the white. Because gray is the only way forward. Thank you.